Good afternoon, guys. It's Elijah here again. I haven't made a video in maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. I've been pretty busy, but I'm getting back at it today. Just remember the last thing we went over was some file operations, writing a file, writing to a file, appending to a file, reading a file, and we even did a little uh, line replacement within the file. So what we're going to go over today, um, excuse me, is for loops. I'm going to make it very basic. So I'm going to create a new file within Sublime Text. I'm just going to put a comment up here, intro to for loops. I'm going to save it, and I'm just going to save it as for intro.py. And we're going to look at for loops for both lists and dictionaries. Remember, we created or we went over lists and dictionaries a few videos ago. And a list is basically, we set a variable equal to a list, and the list has different elements. And recall my elements can be anything from strings to integers to floats to other lists. You get the point. And dictionaries are key value pairs, so you need a key and a value. So I'm just going to kind of refresh your minds with a little key 1. I'm going to just say the value for key 1 is 12, key 2, and the value for key 2 is 13. So what we're going to look at today is for loops with lists and dictionaries. Again, it's going to be very simple. So with a for loop, you just simply type in for, and what you write next is the variable that you're going to use within your loop. So I'm going to say for, actually let me just make a comment, simple list for loop. So again, for, let's just say element in my list. It's almost like plain English. For every element in my list, I'm going to just print the element. And I'm just going to run this, and you see we get every element in the list printed one by one to the console or to the screen. I'm going to do the same thing for the dictionary. Simple dictionary for loop. And we've got to do this a little different. Not too different. We have to use two variables again that we're going to use within the for loop. But we have to separate the variables by key pair. So I'm just going to call my first variable key, comma, and then the value, because dictionaries are key value pairs. So for key value in my dictionary, and now with dictionaries we have to do some special stuff. So if we want to look within our for loop, if we want to look at the key and the value and have access to them, we have to say for key comma value, and you can make these variables any names you want in my dictionary. And of course this has to be your actual variable that contains your dictionary. So we have my dictionary equals this, so we're iterating my dictionary. So what we have to run if we want to look at both the key and the value pairs in my dictionary, we have to say, in Python 3 we have to say dot items with an open and close parenthesis. And if you're on Python 2, you got to say dot iter items. So I'm in Python 3, so I'm going to stick to items, colon, and here I'm just going to print key value. And I'm just going to comment this first for loop out so that we can distinguish the dictionary from the list. Save the file and run it. And you see I get key 1, 12, key 2, 13. Now just a heads up for dictionaries, when you iterate through a dictionary, it's not exactly the same as iterating through the list. The dictionary will actually not always spit out the exact order that the key value pairs are in. So in this case, we got them in the correct order. But for lists, you'll get, when you print them out or when you iterate through, it'll go one by one, from the first element in the list to the next, and then every element after that in the order for which they're in the list. Dictionaries is a little different. Again, we didn't see that. We didn't see that in this case, but just a heads up if you're dealing with dictionaries that have more key value pairs in them. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just going to throw. I'm just gonna throw a condition within our list loop, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the dictionary loop. So condition with list for loop. So simply for element in my list, if element, we can throw any condition. I just want to show you guys how to use conditions within our for loops. If element, let's see, how about we do, let's just say if S in element. So we're going through each element in the list, and we're going to check if there's a letter S in the element. Now just a heads up, because we have integers and numerical values in here, this will fail for those numerical values, because the if statement is assuming that the element is a string. So I'm just going to replace these with some strings. So for element in my list, if the letter S is in the element, we're going to print the element. So this is going to show us every element in our list called my list. Every element in that list that has the substring S. So let's just run that, and you see we get string, which is our first element in the list, and we get so cool, which is our third element in the list. I want to do kind of the same thing for the for loop. So condition with dictionary for loop for key value in my dictionary dot items. If you're on Python 2, remember that's iter items. And what do we want to check? For this case, I just want to check the key. If, let's say, the letter capital K in key, print key. So I ran it, and you see we get key 1 and key 2, which both have the letter K in them. And I want to do another one. Since we know our dictionary has 2 integer values, we're just going to check if those integer values are greater than 10. Again, not anything super important. I'm just showing you how you can play around with this, and it'll make sense, and it'll be easier for you when we start tackling the harder problems, the harder concepts. So we're also going to say if value is greater than 10, print value. So we got key 1 because we're checking if K is in key, and then we got both 12 and 13 because we're checking if the value is greater than 10. So I hope that makes sense. Leave any questions or comments in the comment section below, and I hope to see you guys on the next one, where we are going to go back to our simple console login app, and we're going to save a user's credentials to a file when they first sign up, and when they try to log back in, we're going to check that file to verify that they've correctly typed in their username and their password. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you learned something, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Thanks.